And they couldn't get the really, really big one, so they had the small version,
Right.
like a 1/5 scale model. And to make it look big, they hired a little person to come
Right.
dance around it. That's what they're doing with the pyramids. Egyptians, man. I knew we couldn't trust you people.
Oh. This one time.
So, this one time.
This one time?
This one time.
This one time.
Oh my God, this one time?
The podcast.
We're not going to start from the beginning because this is just an internal segment.
But I can still at least say greetings from Siem Reap, Cambodia. In just a moment, we're going to tell some stories about the things that we did here in Siem Reap, Cambodia, like 80 million temples. But before we get there, hello, my lover.
Hello, darling. And hello, everyone. I'm Sheila D.
And I am Evo Terra.
And have we got a story for you?
See, you don't need that script after all.
I was just going, what's my next line? Like I haven't done this 20 million times or 30.
Yes, season 3 of This One Time, the podcast, has ended. So this is technically episode 31. We ended at season 3, or it ended at episode 30. So sort of sequentially, this is 31.
It's 1 for season 4.
This is episode 1 of season 4. I don't know if this is episode 1 of season 4. I think this is the episode that's after 30, which might be 31. But it could be season 4 one, but I don't know that it is. I think this might be interstitial. I don't know what this is.
I think we have some discussions.
Most
to
of what
have.
this is for us to say hi to our people that are watching us live on Facebook, who have been watching us live on Facebook for the last couple of days that we've been in Siem Reap, Cambodia, just a quick hour flight from our home in Bangkok, across the border into Cambodia, to a town that is designed, I will say the current model of the town, because there's been a town here for, you'll learn in a moment, forever. But the current design of this town is set for one group of people and one group of people only.
Us.
Tourists. Which we are being very touristy today. We are experiencing Siem Reap as tourists. So, honey, how is it so far?
I'm really in love. The people are super nice. The temples, even though we saw a ton of them, they are more spectacular and more detailed than any other set of temples that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that observation, but just so to let the listeners and the Facebook watchers know, it's not like we have extensive history traveling ruins.
No, it's not our background, but we've seen the ones in Mexico. We've seen the ones in Belize. We've seen the ones in...
Mexico and Belize are all part of the same culture, right? And so the
Thailand.
Aztec Incans, right? We've seen some from Thailand, but I mean, talking about ancient ruins, I mean, come on. The ones in Thailand's Ayutthaya from the 1700s.
It's older than you.
'Tis. No doubt about it.
It's history.
Right.
They're
But
ancient.
we've not seen the Great Pyramids of Giza.
Why not?
We've not been anywhere in ancient Rome/Greece. We've not
Why
seen any
not?
of those things. We did see some Roman architecture when we were traveling across Europe, however. We saw
Yeah.
some 4,000-year-old Colosseums that were
Right.
built in England.
Yes.
And
And
some churches that were built in like around the 10th and 11th century.
Yeah,
What walls? The
Well,
city
York.
walls.
Yeah,
the city
York.
walls around York and the city walls around Chester.
Chester.
Yeah. Right. So those are old Roman fortifications
Right.
that have been remodeled. And yes, we've seen some ancient, quote unquote, ancient things in Thailand, which is really just, I mean, again, they call Ayutthaya the ancient city of Thailand. And again, it was sacked in 1749 or something like that. So it's not all that ancient. And really, seriously, they should stack the bricks up. I mean, they should fix the bricks. Seriously.
You are fixated on that, by the way.
But now we're here in Siem Reap. And if you are new to Siem Reap, as we are new to Siem Reap, you're going to be blown away. This is, from what I understand, and I've not done any validation on this, but our guide, Nop, yesterday said
And the day
that
before.
this is, 2 days he was our guide. He said that this Siem Reap, the area called Angkor, God, that's hard for me to say, Angkor Wat, see, that is hard for me to say. All of the different temples that make up said historical site are now part of the UNESCO World, they are a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Singly.
And the entire area is one, and it is the largest by square meterage UNESCO World Heritage
any of
Site of anything else, which kind of blows me away because I would have thought the Great Pyramids would have been larger than this, but maybe apparently according to him, not. So I'm going to take his
Maybe
word
they're
on
just
it.
little.
Oh, you think maybe it's kind of like the face in
Right.
Ayutthaya that I thought was the
Right.
size of, like a Volkswagen bus, but it really wound up about the size of a Nerf ball?
Yes.
You think the pyramids are that way. It's just a perspective trick they're all playing on me. When I get there, it's like when the little Stonehenge dropped down in This Is Spinal Tap. And they couldn't get the really, really big one, so they had the small version,
Right.
like a 1/5 scale model. And to make it look big, they hired a little person to come
Right.
dance around it. That's what they're doing with the pyramids. Egyptians, man. I knew we couldn't trust you people. Anyhow, back to here, Siem Reap. As Sheila said, amazing. I mean, we went. How many temples did we visit over the last 2 days? 12?
I want to say 12 or 13.
Yeah,
There's
12.
a lot.
12 to 13 different temples, all of them ranging in construction date from 9th century to, I think some ended like in the 14th or 15th century, he
15th.
said, is when, 15th century?
Yeah.
That's when the temple building ceased to be a thing.
Well, and it was interesting because the temples, so there's a hierarchy, obviously, but it was odd because you have a king and then you have all these little bitty smaller kings that were ruling small little tribes or areas, and they were all trying to fight to become the big king at one point. And every time you became the big king, you had to create at least 3 temples. And so that's why they have so many, is what we were told.
Sure.
So a lot of times, and they all kept trying to one-up each other, as you know. I think it's a guy thing.
Not to get too super historical, but I mean, that's the way kings were. I mean, every area had a king. Kings were more like mayors than they were than we think of
okay.
kings today. So there
Yeah.
was no king of England until, there was, but there were also lots of other little kings all the way through that.
I just never, I guess, have really thought about it.
And this comes from the years I spent watching Vikings. That's where it taught me about how this feudalism and fiefdom stuff happened. And it's the same here in Cambodia. Apparently there are lots of little kings, and when the big king died, the other little kings, as Sheila said, would decide who gets to be the big king. And once you got to be the big king, they said, great, now build 3 temples.
And you had to have the best product, like the best stones and things like that. That was the interesting thing, is that at one point they were looking for various kinds of stones. And so like sometimes you'll see pink sandstone and sometimes you saw the green. And so it was interesting. There was one point where the guide said, yeah, they couldn't find any good stones, so they kind of stopped.
Yeah, one of the temples we went to was they wanted to construct out of green sandstone, which is the hardest sandstone. Hardest to find, and also the hardest
Yeah.
as in level of not softness. That's what I mean by hardness. very hard stone, so it lasts and it's solid. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of it nearby. So they ran out, and when they ran out, that was strike 1. Strike 2 was when it was literally struck by lightning, it being the temple, right after that. And the
Right.
king said, oh,
The gods are saying we shouldn't build.
clearly that's a stupid idea. So let's not do that anymore. And so we quit. So to tell people who have not yet been to Siem Reap an idea of what we did.
We got here and we went through the millions of different tour companies trying to figure out which one was the best one for us.
And here's what I found out going through TripAdvisor after TripAdvisor review,
Right.
looking at different packages. Because this town was built for tourists, they've done a pretty good job of commoditizing the price.
Yeah.
I get a feeling that the price we paid is the price we'd have paid wherever we would have happened to have been.
Exactly.
I don't think this is a place you do a lot of shopping for value, because you're shaving, if anything, $1 or $2
Right.
here and there. So when you come to Siem Reap, which you totally should come, I mean, seriously, people, all joking aside about this was the most impressive set of ruins, sets of ruins, because there are 70 temples in this particular area that I've ever seen. You need to spend at least a week. We're spending 5 days, and that's not enough time. We spent 2 straight days of nothing but temple going, which was great. We got to a lot of them. We definitely need to do 2 more, but there's only so much massive heat we can stand, and we live here in the tropics. But
We were done each day.
when you come, when you are looking for a tour operator, understand that they are mostly pretty well regulated. So just pick one that you like what other people say about it and choose that one. You will probably, based on my limited experience, but also from talking to other people who were on lots of tours, everyone seems to love it. I think it's really more a factor of the place itself than it is the extreme knowledge of the guides. Only some of which I think is utter bullshit, by the way.
You did almost call our guide out at one point.
So these guides are trained, and you have to go through some accreditation program through Cambodian government where you take some history lessons. And the kid was on script. I mean, the whole time. He did a very good job.
Only true guides can go in.
Yeah, you just can't pick someone off the street and say,
Right.
take me in there. No, you have to go someone who has been an actual guide. At one point, we were in one of the central towers. I don't know if it was in the Angkor Wat proper or somewhere else. It might have been.
It might
Doesn't
have
matter.
been.
Central Tower, no, it definitely wasn't there. Central Tower, it might have been where the Tomb Raider, where Lara Croft's Tomb Raider was
Maybe.
filmed, which I think is Tapram. Is that what that was called? Tapram?
Mm-hmm.
Inside of the Central Tower there, we're inside, and there are these holes that are about the size of a mouse hole, right? I mean, if you made an OK sign with your fingers, the circle
They
you
were
would
large
describe would be
and
about the
deep.
size of that. But that's the thing. They were deeper than the length of my index finger, and they sloped down just slightly. Probably at a 5-10% grade. Not a huge angle of declination there. And so I asked the question, what are these for? Because he seems to know everything. And he said, oh, that's where the gems went inside, so that when the light came in here, it sparkled, I guess, like a disco ball 9th century style, and
Hey, you always
impressed
gotta
everybody.
have your disco ball.
Now, Sheila's going to post some pictures, and one of those pictures is of all these holes. We're talking hundreds of holes in this
There
room.
was a ton of them, and they were lined up, like they were, like you could have put something.
Yeah. So first off, there were a lot. That was one problem that threw me off. I mean, because again, not that there aren't a lot of gems in the world, but there aren't a lot of gems in the world. We call them precious stones because they're rare. You can't just go pick up a whole bunch of them, regardless of what you've seen in your D&D experiences. It just doesn't work that way. Dragons do not hang out with chests full of rubies. I'm sorry.
Really?
Anyhow, there's that. Second part is, he tells me that the holes, they would fill them with stucco, which he just means some sort of binding material, and then stick the stones inside. Well, why would it be as deep as my finger to do that? You don't need that much. You need a slight depression that will hold the fixative thing and then the stone on top.
See, at first I thought he was saying that that's where they were hiding the stones, but afterwards he
If
kind
they
of
were
made it
hiding the
clear.
stones there, it certainly wouldn't
You
have
couldn't
shined
yeah.
any light on them if they were
Right.
hidden inside of a deep, deep hole. And second, that weird angle of declination that it had leads me to believe it was probably where some support bars went from one side to the other, bamboo sticks perhaps, that they could then crawl up and finish constructing the material. So I think it's all left over from construction.
Also, it helps that we saw those holes all throughout.
Yeah, lots of different places. Like, why are those exact same holes in the floor? What's that all about? They didn't have gems in the floor. Who the hell puts gems in the floor? Donald Trump? I mean, Drizzly, it's not what you're going to do. Not a normal person. So I'm pretty sure that was bullshit.
I thought you were going to call bullshit on the dinosaur.
Well, that's bullshit number 2. There is actually at that same temple. I believe it was also
I think it was
at
at that
Taprom.
same one.
We saw a lot, man, and they all blended
They all
together.
run together.
There was another temple to where engraved, where normally what they call an opera dancer, I think what he was saying was opera.
It's not opera.
I'm going to
but
go with
it's
opera because it sounded like opera. Maybe spelled differently, but
Opera.
figure it out.
Opera,
Sure.
I think.
Anyhow,
the
dancers.
same ones that we have in Thailand.
Sure. Dancers
That
carved
do
in
funky
there.
things with their hands that mine don't do.
You want to tell
Their
that story?
fingers. Well, I was just going to talk about what the dancers are. It's not like they're a disco dancer. They're a very specific dancer.
Yeah, but dance from the 9th century. No one thought of disco dancing other than you.
I was back
Disco
on the
was
Stones.
invented in 1972. You remember
No
this?
way. I was 3.
So, where the dancers normally are engraved, in this case, someone had engraved what certainly looks to be a stegosaurus. And this was engraved again back in the 11th century. A stegosaurus looks like it's engraved there. Not looks like, I guess that kind of could be a stegosaurus. No, pretty much looks like a profile view of the stegosaurus that you are picturing in your mind right now.
I think I got a picture of that one.
I put it up on my Instagram, on Evo's face, my Instagram feed, and it looks like that. Now, the guide's explanation of this is perhaps a Stegosaurus family survived 74 million years to 900 years ago.
As they do.
And I reminded him, I said, well, if you take 74 million and you subtract 900 from that, you get approximately 74 million years. No. There was no surviving of dinosaurs inside. So.
And then he gave the explanation about a fossil.
He thought perhaps that when they were quarrying the stone for the temples, that perhaps they came across a fossilized remains of a Stegosaurus, which sounds plausible until you actually take a look at what fossilized remains of Stegosaurus look like, and they are rarely presented in whole form and never with the skin intact. You would see these plates and these weird bones, and you wouldn't necessarily go, oh, that clearly belongs to the same animal. Let's put these together. I don't think they had recombinant anatomy classes.
No, you don't think so?
Even though there was a university there.
There was. We went to the university and we went to the hospital.
Yeah. That just finished the Stegosaurus up. What that means is some dickhead in the last 50 years went in and carved that in. Done. Solved. Problem solved. People are assholes. University. We saw a university. This is, again, an ancient university, which had a library with no books in it.
As none of the libraries did.
Worst of that was the hospital. There was an ancient hospital.
This
and
was awesome.
By hospital, what they mean is it was a place where one of the kings had said, oh, well, see, the problem with when you get sick is one of your 4 humors are out of balance. If you've studied any traditional Chinese medicine, which takes you all about 6 seconds to study, I'm going to tell you right now. If your humors are out of balance, then you need to rebalance your humors and you'll get better. So they had one for earth, one for fire, one for wind, one for earth, fire, wind. What's the other one?
Sky?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I saw Fifth Element. Earth, wind, fire, earth. What's the other one? What's the 4? Okay. Sorry. So when you were out of your sorts for that one, the priest or fortune teller would tell you which one you needed, and you would go soak in that water, and you would either get better or you would die. So therefore, it worked.
As it does.
Yeah, I guess that's the way that works. So that was interesting. We did see where Lara Croft Tomb Raider was filmed.
Yes.
So that was the ancient movie theater we got to go see.
I don't think that was a movie theater.
Yeah, and then we saw a couple that were stacked with the bricks, the similar bricks that that Thais used in Ayutthaya, but they actually restacked them here. Thank you, UNESCO, for actually restacking the bricks. Could you do the same in Ayutthaya? Maybe I'll go back.
There is a lot of gosh, I just lost the word. They are going in and fixing a lot of restoring a lot of the various temples. So that was nice to see that they weren't just letting it.
Lara Croft Tomb Raider, there was a big crane inside an entire section you could not go to as they were picking up these different fallen down chunks of sandstone, limestone, and putting them back in place. Yeah. So it was interesting to see them work. And the entire Angkor Wat, the big temple, we're talking about 70 other ones as well, but the big Angkor Wat temple took 37 years to complete. 37 years from nothing.
Not to complete. That was when they were doing the major construction. So the base of it was done. It was after that they started doing all the carving.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's what he had said.
Oh. How long did it take him to finish the carving?
He didn't say that, but he said they did the major.
So let's say they did the entire construction, so everything done except the wallpaper in 37 years. 37 years. So now all we have to do is restack the damn things. That's taking hundreds of years for us to get this completed from what the estimations are. They were done, man. People did it in 37 years, and they didn't even have a friggin' level to their name, right? We have apps and stuff on our smartphones. Surely we could find a way to construct that thing a little faster, but no.
Are you complaining?
Archaeology is not a spectator sport, apparently. Not fun. But it was amazing. I also learned that the Cambodians and the Thais and the Vietnamese and I think that's it, kind of all were not very nice to one another for a very long time. This is a place that's rife with feudalism, and Cambodia, of course, has its own terrible history not 35 years ago. Oh, my God. really, really horrible that they seem to be, well, I don't want to say they've recovered from because that would be callous of me. How would I know? But nonetheless, Siem Reap is a fantastic place to visit.
Yep. We'll be
you
back.
You should definitely put it on your travel to-do list, even if you think you're the kind of person that doesn't care about going to ruins and seeing things that have fallen down me. And perhaps you've been to Chichen Itza. Perhaps you've been to that thing that they tell you is a Colosseum from 4,000 years ago, and you go, really? The one that's got a road going right through the middle of it? Completely different experience at Siem Reap. This is definitely a place where you want to come spend some time and just go be a tourist, do the things that tourists do, like stand in front of other tourists when you're trying to take a sunrise photo. But anyhow, I'm not going to go into why I now hate the Russians, the French, and the Italians. I won't go into any of that.
Hey, I was impressed with you because you don't typically like to do this kind of trip. So I don't always want to, I'm going to throw this out there, go with you sometimes because you don't care about sometimes the history and the culture of what's, you like
Not
the
true.
history.
I like
You
the history and the culture. I do like the history and the culture.
Yeah.
I like those things. What I don't like are things that look shitty.
Well, we'll get them up to your standards.
Damn Skippy. Look, we've got 4.7 billion years of history as a planet we can deal with, 200,000 years as a species we could deal with. Most of that, Sturgeon's Law applies. 99% of everything sucks, and just because it's old doesn't make it cool. However, in the case of Siem Reap, it is not only old, it is quite cool.
It is very cool. It is very cool. You know what we have this week?
What we have this week. Well, we got more time here in Cambodia.
Which gives
me
time to fill out postcards.
Oh, that was your segue. Yes, we did purchase postcards, as we are wont to do. For those of you following along at home, we send out postcards every single month to people who support us on Patreon. It's cheap. And we send you a postcard from wherever we happen to be. So we bought a bunch of postcards. We bought a bunch of extra postcards this time as well, because we've had a few new signups. So thank you for the new people who have signed up. And for the people who have yet to sign up, why the hell not? You could do it right stinking now if you're watching us on Facebook, either live or as a replay. Go to shivo.wtf/postcards or patreon.com/OPPtravelers and get signed up today.
Our music is by Valea Valea.
Thanks for listening, listener. I am Evo Terra.
And I'm Sheila D.
For more information about us, where we're going, and when the hell the next season might actually start,
Not now.
check out the website at shivo.wtf.